Hello everybody and welcome to this season of growing. Now my first growing is going to be garlic and it's going to be the bigger variety. But before I start, I just want to talk about the preparation that I've done with the pots and the tools and the implements. Now all these pots were stored outside in my polytunnel and they got all very dirty, and so what I've done is I've had to wash them down and I've rinsed them, and then I've rinsed them in a very weak solution of bleach. And then I've rinsed them again and I've dried them. Now that has gone for all the implements that I've used, whether it's been the small sort of spade or hand trowel, or the sieve that I've used to rinse the, to sift the compost, and even to the little pressed block of wood that I've had to compact my my pots with the soil in. So that's what I've done, and I think it's very important because you don't want to start off the season with any potential diseases, and these pots, were exposed to quite a lot last year. Last year I had quite a lot of things. I had tomato blight, I had powdery mildew. So I had quite a few issues to deal with last year as far as diseases were concerned. So to safeguard, I would recommend that every time you do a new planting, you prepare your pots and your implements well and make sure they're sterilized to give your plants the best possible chance of growing. Then now what I've used is a standard sort of compost that I've got from Wilco's, and now I put it all through the skillet, this sort of sieve, to take out all the big bits, and I've separated the big bits into a little tray like this. Now I'm not going to be throwing them away because they are still full of fiber and everything else, and a whole lot of nutrients. So these are going to go into the garden to make the garden soil even more friable. As I plant, I'll be mixing this in. So it's certainly not getting wasted. But what I've ended up in my mix is a very fine mix without many big bits in it. And I think for seeds that's quite important. Now seeds themselves don't need the nourishment, but because when I transplant, I try and transplant all of the compost with the plant. I think it is important then to have some sort of nourishment around the plant so that it can grow. And then further to this, what I've added is a little bit of perlite, a little hand or two for a tray about this size, just to give it a nice sort of even spread of perlite through to maintain the moisture and keep the friability. And then also this compost that I used was very dry. So I've added a bit of water, and the idea is that if you compact it like this, it'll stay as a ball, but then if you get your finger and you press it like this, it just crumbles apart. And so that's what it is. And so what I've done now is I filled up most of the pots, and I've still got one more to fill up. So what I do is I scoop it up here, and I sort of knock it down a bit to try and get a lot of the corners of the pot full, and then I take my little wrench and I just sort of tap it down very, very lightly, because you want to firm it and make sure that all the big spaces of air are out, because if you've got big spaces of air, the roots can't get into it and can't grow in air, so that they need some sort of ground or compost in this case to make their roots grow in and make them strong. So once I've done that, I just sort of give it a couple of taps to make sure that everything is settled, and I put it aside. Now I'm going to be planting the garlic. Now this garlic I got down at our local sort of community store, and it's a bigger variety, and I've broken up the bulbs and I've kept the largest bulbs. Now the internal ones that are closest to the core, I've discarded as far as growing is concerned, because they're not mature yet, and you want the healthiest plants. So now even when I harvest them, I'm going to be keeping the biggest bulbs for next year, because I want to try and keep my own seeds and for the following seasons. So this is the bigger variety. Now I've got two varieties, but I'm going to be planting the bigger first. So I've separated it, and I've kept the largest ones. So anyway, let me get on and give a planting a go. Now the planting of the garlic is a relatively simple process. What you do is you've got the garlic, and it's got like a little piece sticking up here, and this bottom part is a root. So you press the root part down and you leave the top open so that it's got somewhere to grow like that. So as you go along, you just take your garlic and you leave a little bit on the top. Same sort of thing here, that's where the roots will go and that's where the top will grow out. You just press it into the soil that you prepared like that, and then you just put them aside and you do the next one and so forth. Now I'm not going to be doing all of these in the camera because I think it's rather, it's not very good use of the time, and I don't want to make this clip boring for you. Let me just straighten that one a little bit so it's got a little bit better to grow up. So anyway, this is how you do it. You just press it in and you leave the tip up and the bottom there. And now we'll get on and I'll finish up these and then I'll show you what I'll do next. Okay, what I've done is I've swapped around the tray for this little tray here, which is like a little drip tray. Now I've planted all the pots with the seeds in them. Now what I've done is I've labelled up my tag and I'm just calling it garlic V1 for vigor first planting, and I'm putting it in there because I've got a little diary that'll keep a record of everything that I'm planting, and I just keep doing that, and I put in these in the trays here like this, and I'll label them all up, put them in the trays. Now I'm putting them in these trays here because these trays act as drip trays, and I put them all in here. Now I will get some water, and I make it sort of like lukewarm water because I don't want to shock the seeds. And now I'll just water them in and let them soak through. And because now the compost is already moist, but this just embeds everything, the plant or the garlic bulb, into the plant. Now I don't have to worry because I can see water running through already, but I put them on their drip tray. And that'll be it for my garlic planting. Now I'll do this for all the garlic, and even when I do the next lot, my next lot of garlic, my second planting of garlic, I'll do it in exactly the same way. Okay, now this garlic will take about 10 days to root and to start sprouting. So normally you can then take the plants and put them outside, but I will normally wait about 3 weeks or two to a month so that the plants get really good. I'll wait for the garlic to sprout, and the tip end will sprout out when it's about 10 centimeters long. Then I'll take it out into the garden and I'll put it in the spot. Now with this garlic, I'm spreading them throughout the garden because garlic is a fantastic herb. It's mainly a medicinal herb. Its nutrient values are mainly as an antioxidant. So it helps your immune system fight the diseases in your body, and this is why I've chosen garlic, because garlic really helps you to keep healthy and wards off all sorts of illnesses, as well as planting in the garden, they ward off all sorts of bugs. But there are some plants that don't like garlic near them, and when we plant these out, I'll talk about that then. Okay, hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.